hello and introduce yourselves. That would be lovely to know who's on the call. I think you're all muted, which is a great thing to be as we start, but drop something in the chat and say hi.
I can start
Or,
if you want.
or you're welcome to say hi live. We probably don't have time for everybody, but hi, Ingrid.
Oh,
Welcome.
sorry, no, I assume that you wanted everyone to say hello with the audio, so I can also say hi with the chat. That's perfect. Sorry.
Ingrid, we've got you live now. Say hello in real life now. We've got you.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Ingrid and I'm working as a communications manager for a trade association located in Brussels.
Great. Hi, Ingrid.
Hey, nice to meet and see you.
Nice to meet you. Would anybody else like to unmute and say hello while we're doing this?
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Hi.
I'm Keith Branham. I'm a political consultant. Mostly worked in the US. I currently live in Istanbul.
Great. Hi. And can I just check, Christophe, are you you're here and ready to share with us a little bit today?
Yes. Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, so yeah, I'd be happy to share what I do. I work for Ipsos, European Public Affairs, and we do have some interesting data that I think is worth sharing today. So I'll be talking a bit about that.
Fantastic. Well, look, I should say my name is Jacob Kessner, and you'll be hearing a little bit more from me than we were planning a moment ago, because Sebastian, who you are all know very well, is on his way to the hospital. His child has had a bit of an accident, but everything is okay. He may even be dialing in while he's waiting in the waiting room. It's not serious, we understand, but I'm going to be chairing and introducing our session today. I think we should launch right into it and start. So welcome everybody. It's really a real pleasure to be here. As I said, my name is Jacob Kessner. So I lead Majoritas Academy, and we've just this is a partnership with the fantastic European Campaign Playbook. We're a new startup, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're in the business of doing, and you will then have access to our new platform over the next 4 weeks, and we're really excited to give you that access. Let me start here though. This is our starting point that will not be new to anybody on the call. I think we know that Europe is facing a difficult time right now. We've heard these keywords of populism, polarization, post-truth, and this is the starting point for where we feel that we find ourselves. And as citizens, we firmly believe at Majoritas Academy that citizens have a choice to engage or to disengage, and that there is some moral purity and some value in disengaging and saying, I don't want to be part of the political system. I think the people on this call understand that that isn't the choice for them, and that there is also a real moral value in engaging with the messy, complicated, tricky, difficult, hard world of politics. And that is certainly what we believe. We believe in democracy, and that means rolling up your sleeves and getting stuck in. It means making compromises. It means arguing persuasively and toughly and being tough, always on the right side of the line, but being in it to win it. So we believe in democracy. We believe in campaigning. And what that means, of course, is that we believe in campaigners. We believe in the people who are doing the work on the front lines of democracy. And when we think about campaigners, we sometimes think about this person. This is Jenny. And I wonder how many of you will resonate with our description of Jenny, a campaigner on her way to join a campaign team and feeling nervous, feeling terrified. If she is lucky enough to have had some training joining a campaign, it's very likely to have been ad hoc or informal. or it's likely to have been very academic. She may have been lucky enough to do a master's at the Harvard Kennedy School, but more likely, tell me if this rings true for you, more likely she's picked up the skills of a political campaigner almost like the way an artisan picked up their skills in a guild in medieval Europe. The number of campaigners that I've talked to who've said, oh yeah, I trained with so-and-so, who trained with so-and-so, who trained with Arthur Finkelstein. You know, I trained with so-and-so, you know, almost like a lineage, like a medieval guild. And we think that that is not good enough in today's campaign world. And we have a really simple thesis. I'd be interested if how much this rings true for you. But we believe that the time it takes for a team to become effective is too slow in today's modern campaign environment. And so we imagine a new future, one where Jenny is on her way to a campaign where she has interactive courses, she has access to key exercises that illustrate that give her learning for those crucible moments of that a campaigner will encounter. You know, the first time that they walk into a room, and let's face it, with a room full of politicians, it's often you know, a certain kind of profile and a certain kind of person, you know, certain kind of demographic and age and kind of person that you've got to walk in and be heard and be convincing about your expertise. Or the first time that you have to present polling data that is going in the wrong direction. She's had learning for those crucible moments, and she's had what we have here with the European Campaign Playbook, a peer community, people that she can draw on for support. And this is where this is our starting point as Majoritas Academy, that we wanted to build the manual for campaigners. We wanted that situation that Jenny faced to be a situation of the past, and to be able to say, now there is a manual for campaigners. And for us, we imagine ourselves as, you know, thinking about the production values of masterclass, but for campaigners, those high production value videos, those great, you know, cinematic Netflix style productions. Think the learning from real mentors, not theorists, but the people who have been in the trenches, who've been there, who've done that. They walk the walk, they don't just talk the talk. And then we've been inspired by that kind of era of progressive boot camps that sprung up in the early noughties that led into the Obama election in the US and subsequently that kind of future-focused energy. We're trying to channel all of those into the business that we are building called Majoritas Academy, which is aspiring to be the global platform for political campaign leadership. And ultimately, what we believe in is that the people who most benefit from continuing to keep hidden that often secret knowledge about how you win campaigns, the people who most benefit are the people who would quite like to have one more election and no more after that. And that by codifying this knowledge, by sharing it openly, we believe that is a key part of resisting the polarization and the forces that I started this presentation with. And we believe ultimately that this is our contribution to changing the world. I'm gonna hand over to Kelsey to show you the platform that you all have access to. Kels, over to you.
Great. Let me share quickly. Oh, it looks like Jacob, could you actually share and go to the website and I'll talk through it? Looks like I don't have
sure, yeah.
But in the meantime, I will introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey Bott, and I'm the operations lead here at Majoritas Academy. As Jacob said, we're really excited about this partnership. Please do reach out to us if you'd like to chat more. We'd love to be able to learn more from you and your experience and how we can make sure that we are tailoring our learning to fit your needs as well. So very excited to meet all of you. Perfect. Thanks, Jacob. So as Jacob mentioned, I wanted to talk through the website a little bit. I have seen that some of you have gotten the chance to sign up and access the course already, which is great. We love to see it. If you haven't yet, that's okay. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see there's a sign up link there, and that will require you just to enter in a bit of information to create a basic account. And once you create your account, that will automatically then give you access to the course as well. So once you create the account, you can log in there also. Yeah, back to the homepage, Jacob, please. So as you go through our homepage, you'll see a little bit about what you've just heard Jacob say. It's our platform for campaign leadership. You can see what we have on offer, a number of courses available already, as well as learn a bit more about who our experts are and what it is we're doing. So perfect. If you go to the experts tab first, please. Thank you. You can see a little bit more about who we work with. So we work with, as Jacob said, it's not just theorists. Everyone we work with has worked within the sector, varying types of experiences, a wide array of depth of expertise. And you can learn more about any of the people that we work with within this page. And on courses. So our course that we're looking at together is the Guide to Data-Driven Campaigns. But if you scroll down a bit, Jacob, please, you can see some of the other courses we have are around campaign strategy, using social media and campaigns, the structures of campaigns, how you set alliances and partnerships. So lots of great information there in some of our other courses. And also, I should mention, we're about to launch another 10 courses in the coming weeks on lots of different topics. So keep an eye out for that as well. If we go back up to the top and go into our data-driven campaigns course. So as we kick off, I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, taking a look at the course page, because you'll learn all about what the course has to offer. We have a trailer there. We won't play it for you now, as sound tends to not carry well over Zoom, but it gives you a nice highlight reel of what to expect in the course. And if you scroll down a bit, yeah, on the left, you can see the course outline. So this gives you more about what to expect in the course, what it's going to be about, as well as to the right of that, Jacob, is the learning outcomes. And what you'll see within the course we're going to focus on is data collection techniques. It's really about collection, analysis, and application of data, and how you can use that to, as Vlad will talk about, enhance your campaign and enhance your understanding and be able to really predict outcomes. And then if you scroll down towards the bottom of the page, you'll see the experts we're working with. So on this particular course, we have Endri Fuga, who is the Director of Communications for the Albanian Prime Minister. Endri is brilliant, has a wealth of information. He's very experienced here. And we also have Ana Moraru, who has been a campaign manager for a very long time. She has lots of great examples to pull from that she'll talk through in the course. And she also focuses on communication and strategic messaging. So she has lots of insights there as well. And then our third expert on this course is Vlad, who is here today. Vlad also he focuses on polling and data. He's brilliant. But the nice thing about this is that you'll hear a lot from Vlad along with the other experts on the course. But with the live sessions that we're doing, including today, Vlad will be here for a number of them to be able to talk to. You can talk to him about it. You can ask him questions about his experiences, particularly what you've seen in the course and from what you'll hear from him in the live sessions. So it's a nice experience with this partnership to be able to have one of our experts from the course to be able to chat with you as you're learning and going through the material. So with that, I will hand over to Vlad to introduce himself, tell you all a little bit about himself, as well as the experience he's had and what's brought him here today. So over to you, Vlad.
Thank you so much. I hope you do get to hear me well and see me well as well. Very nice to see everyone. I get to see a couple of Romanian names as well, so salutare. Also some people that I already know, and greetings to everyone. So my name is Vlad. I'm 44. So this basically means that I'm born in the 80s of communist Romania, which was not a very nice place for people to manifest their political opinions, let's put it this way. But nevertheless, when I grew up in the 90s, I was really fascinated to try to understand, of course, the politics, the environment in which I was growing up. It was the tumultuous 90s. And when the 2000 came, I decided to go for a political science degree in Romania. And I found it interesting. I mean, it was really, really a new domain in Romania. From there, I moved on to do a master's degree with the specializations of voting behavior at the Central European University, which I guess some of you people already know. And that was a very interesting place for me to be, because that's where I discovered this little pleasure, comfort, let's put it this way, of working with numbers, and attaching these numbers to whatever advice, consultancy, or political strategy one comes to think about. So basically, to put it simply, that's where I discovered how nice, surveys could be, and how fun statistics could be, right? I mean, usually statistics and fun don't match very well in the same proposition. I did find the world of academia rather interesting, but on the other hand, when I got back in Romania, I felt the need to have a more a hands-on feel on what things are happening. And what I did at that time, I think I was one of the first in that time to start doing phone surveys, which was something rather new at that time. Everybody was doing pen and paper, something that you know very well. And now we all know how phone surveys go, and of course digital surveys that we're going to talk about. But in that time, the 2005 to 2006 in Romania, that doing phone surveys was rather new. And the thing that that I understood at the time for me, and it was really, really important, was how technology can help a rather tedious mechanic process. I mean, you no longer have to knock at people's door and collect the data. You eliminate error and so on and so forth. On top of that, of course, at the core of everything that one is supposed to do should be the quality of the data that we create, right, to our clients and you as well. But on top of this quality nugget, I think, I mean, what I have discovered working with surveys and delivering surveys to political clients, I understood how important it is for them to have not only good quality results, but also having them fast, right? I mean, if you can go to a politician and tell him or her, but at the time it was more of a him, to come up with really fast results in which you measure his electoral performance, that was really important, right? So you have quality, you have fast results, and then a third thing that I personally realized it was very important at the time was also high frequency. I mean, the capacity of doing surveys really, really. I mean, why wait 1 month, right? Let's do it weekly. And with phones, we were able to do it in also on a daily basis. It was resource consuming, of course. But it was at that time that, for example, we measured for the first time a presidential debate. And I still remember that we delivered results in 55 minutes. So the debate ended at 9 p.m. 9:55, the client had a survey conducted on 1,000 individuals via phone. And it was amazing for him to know how people perceived his media performance. Now, time has passed and so on. The technology improved itself. And in 2015, we decided to move the switch of the operation to digital. And that was the time that I, together with my partner, created an entity which is called Majoritas Insights. It was 10 years ago again. And we moved everything to the digital. And we started working with online panels, following the same principles, right? All the data that we use should be created by us, just to make sure that the quality of the data is very important. And I cannot stress how important this quality factor is in whatever we do, we as a collective of consultants, I mean. Yeah, in the last 10 years, basically, we have been active in more than 30 countries, in more than 4 continents with what we do. So yeah, I mean, my eyes got to see plenty of data and plenty of interesting things. I was thinking of coming up with an example for this very first introduction of ours. And I thought that it should be one related to the idea of online polling, because still I think, and you might have had this experience yourselves, you go and you present some data from an online poll, and then your principal, your boss says, yeah, but it's an online poll. Yeah, but that's very important, right? So first of all, one should not live under the impression that online polls should replace offline polls. No, those are very good to stay, right? I mean, what we should always refer to, and we do refer to offline polling. But it's more like, fork and knife at the table. There are 2 instruments serving 2 different things. And online polls are really, really good, of course, at providing fast and high frequency results, as I said. but also it targets a certain category of voters, right? With an online poll, you get to understand the swing voters mainly, where and when it happens. And let me just give you like a 1-minute example. I'm not gonna name names, but I have, so basically it's a big country. We worked there in the late 2020s. They have a presidential system in which is like just one round, right? So the first one who gets the most of the votes wins the election, which naturally leads to low majorities, right? So you could be president there with 25% of the votes. And I remember that 6 months before election time, we went and delivered the first consolidated results of our research to our client. And we said, look, I mean, based on the data that we have, the other guy is gonna, I mean, today he's above 50 percentage points. And then they looked at me and I mean, it's impossible. There must be a flaw in the data. And then I said, okay, it might be such, but I mean, we had experience and so on and so forth. Yet we returned to the data. I double checked it. I wrote a memo back to them and told them, guys, I mean, I cannot find the flaw. So I think we should also explore the alternative in which the data is right, and this candidate might actually be in the 50 plus. Then a couple of weeks went by. We finally closed basically at we said 55 percentage point. This person, our prediction 55 percentage point. I still have that memo, right? 4 months passed, and that president became the president. That the guy became the president of the country with 55 percentage points. I think that there is, I mean, of course, one could say it's coincidence or correlation is not causation, right? The classic stuff. However, I think that it is very important. I mean, the lesson that I take from here is that it is very important to pay attention to the dynamic of the category of vote that counts, right? The dynamic vote needs to be captured when it is happening. And I think, let me just close by saying that I think that since October 2023, which is basically the date when ChatGPT-3 became available worldwide, I do think that we're entering a new world. I mean, for me and for us as a business and of consultancy advice giving entity, it's a huge opportunity to refine our skills, to refine our toolbox. Now we're playing a lot with, I mean, we already had AI in whatever we do, but now we are really exploring into how perfecting this. We're working with having this. So basically, let me put it like this again. Just 2 weeks ago, we conducted a test in which we conducted 400 interviews in 2 hours with voters using an AI agent voice. And in 35 minutes after that, we had a very good qualitative report on that. So I'm really looking forward to get to know you and to interact with you. And I mean, I hope to have as many questions as possible during the upcoming sessions. And I really, really would like to be more of an exchange of ideas and dialogues. And yeah, I think we should have in mind also this future-oriented perspective on how things are, but also where the ball will be. Thank you so much.
Vlad, thank you very much. So we're going to hear now a little bit from Christophe.
Yes, so I've got a few slides to share. So I share them now. Can you all see? Yeah, all good. So, thank you very much for inviting me. First of all, I'm very glad to be here and to be able to talk about what we do at Ipsos and talk about the Flash Eurobarometer surveys. That is a big project that we are involved in with my team. So my name is Christophe Leclerc. I am 34 years old, and I have been working for Ipsos for 4 years now. And before that, I did a PhD at Maastricht University, and I studied also the rest of my studies at Maastricht University, where I studied European studies. So I've been around Brussels, sort of say, for around 12 years now, and studying European politics. And then I decided to, after my PhD, to move into the polling industry, which is something that I was very interested in. I did my PhD in also in quantitative, using quantitative methods. So polling was always something that I found fascinating, and so yeah, which is one of the reasons why I joined Ipsos. So you may have heard of Ipsos, which is one of the biggest opinion poll companies in the world. We are, when it comes to public affairs, we are very active in the US and also in France, because it was a French company. Now it's an international company, but it was really active in France until 10 years ago, and in the UK too. And my team is Ipsos European Public Affairs, so which is a European team where we conduct surveys, in multi-country surveys in different countries in Europe, and sometimes in all European countries. And we mostly work with European institutions like the European Commission, the European Parliament, the European Central Bank, but also the OECD, NATO, and different associations that are navigating around the Brussels bubble. Which means that we touch upon a very large variety of topics. We also use different methods. We do quantitative studies, we do qualitative studies. And in my sort of sub-team, we work mostly on the Flash Eurobarometer. So the Flash Eurobarometer program, the Eurobarometer program, was launched some years back, and the aim was really to get the pulse of what Europeans were thinking about, and what their attitudes were about different topics. So it started with just a couple per year, and then they extended it to much more than this. So now they have the standard and special Eurobarometer, which I ran. So the standard is run twice a year, which is a pretty big survey, face-to-face survey, very heavy just to gauge European citizens' attitudes regarding the EU and on some key topics. And they also now run the Flash Eurobarometer, which is what we are doing here at Ipsos. And the Flash Eurobarometer has a different structure. There are more of them. There are more Flash Eurobarometers than standard Eurobarometer. I think last year we had 35 surveys within that framework contract. So they are usually rather short. They are 1 week, 2 week survey, and they touch upon a very large variety of topics. So what happens is that we have a request from a DG that wants to look at a certain topic, and then we'll just do the questionnaire, run the survey. It can be telephone survey, it can be a web survey, and it can also be B2B surveys. And then after a few weeks, they will get all the deliverables, the reports, the raw data, and it is all made public. So it is actually a very, very great tool for anyone who's interested in politics, in public opinion, for researchers too. I remember when I was teaching during my PhDs, because the raw data is available publicly, so we actually would give students the raw data so that they could play around and learn basic statistics with some quite fun data to use. So I think it is a very great survey. And here is the link if you're interested. Everything is published. So they publish the reports, the infographics, fact sheets, so and the raw data and all kind of tabulations. So I think this is a very great tool for anyone who's in advocacy and wants to have a good understanding of what European people think. So we do each Eurobarometer in the 27 EU member states. Sometimes we also look at non-EU countries, and we usually do just EU citizens, but sometimes we look at specific target populations. For example, young people, and the survey that I'm going to show you some data on in a couple of minutes is on young people. We also have surveys about just targeting women, targeting workers, targeting. We had a survey lately targeting just people using their mobile phone. Also, people who just would travel on a regular basis. So quite a large, I mean, a lot of different populations. And we also do business surveys where then we can target different sectors depending on what the client is interested in knowing. So if we take a look at some of the topics we had, well, as you can see here, we had a lot of different topics, different in terms of content, but also then in terms of methodology. Oh, sorry about this. So we had, for example, when the war in Ukraine started, the Digicom wanted to have a very quick survey about to have an idea of what people were thinking about that. And we had, in a couple of weeks, we had a survey on the war in Ukraine, and then all the data was available maybe a month later to the public. And we had also survey on mental health, on digitalization of work. We sometimes have trend surveys, which are of course very interesting because we have trends that can go back to more than 20 years. And for example, when it comes to trust in the euro, we actually have a survey that is shows the people attitudes towards the euro since the euro was initiated in the early 2000s. So these are really great tools for policymakers and for anyone interested in these topics. So we have different kinds of deliverables. So we have the one that is at the left is what we call a fact sheet. So this is a 2-pager document that is either or in English or in local languages too, in the 24 EU languages, and that shows the results of the survey for each individual country and comparing it to the EU results. This is a very good tool, especially when it's translated, because then people can, or journalists, we have also a lot of journalists looking at this data, can just take a look at this file and see the result for their country and compare it to the EU average. We also have what we call the infographics, which is the one in the middle, which is a little bit more, it's a bit nicer, it's more user-friendly, and it shows the EU average on the most important questions, which are basically the questions that the client really wants to put forward. So of course we don't, as Ipsos, don't decide on the content of those. We do we discuss that with the client, and the client will tell us where we would like to have this question put forward in the infographics. Maybe there is another question where that we don't want to put in the infographic that will be in the report, but we don't want to put too much emphasis on that. So we discuss with the client, and then we come up with this. And of course, the report that will discuss all questions, that is an example at the right here, will discuss all questions, and then we have a very descriptive analysis of the data. It's usually very descriptive. Sometimes we have larger reports where we also provide a literature review, and we do some secondary research on those topics. But most of the time it is just a simple description of the data. So I will then show you some data on 2 topics that I first of all found pretty interesting, but were the 2 latest B2C, so citizen public at large survey, and B2B survey. So the Youth EU Challenges and Priorities was the latest public at large survey, Flash Eurobarometer survey that was published. That was published, I think, 10 days ago. And the SMEs Resource Efficiency and Green Market study was the latest B2B survey that we had, that is in which we interviewed companies across the 27 EU member states, but also in countries outside the EU. So the Youth EU Challenges and Priorities survey, the survey was run in a few months ago. and earlier this year, and that was really for the commission. That is a survey they do each year, but for the first time they actually did it only targeting youth, which was very interesting because of course young people have specific issues, they have specific priorities, they think differently than the rest of the population, which also came with a caveat that these results couldn't be directly compared to, and this is we'll talk a bit later maybe about trend studies, but the results couldn't not be directly compared to the previous EU challenge survey that we had in previous years, because this targeted a very specific population. But so here, for example, when we asked young people what worries them the most thinking about the future, we could see that was not entirely surprising. The cost of living was by far the issue that worries them the most, with 41%. So this was a multiple response question. So that's why the numbers don't add up to 100%. That means that respondents could select several answers. And peace and global stability was ranked very high. So it was the survey was run earlier this year, where peace and global stability was very, very high at that time in the news and in the agenda. And economic stability was third, and climate change and the environment was quite high up, but not the highest, with 26%. So here it would be interesting if they do that survey again to see how this will develop over time, because this is very dependent on the context, of course, on the political context. I'm pretty sure if we had run the same survey maybe 4 years ago, climate change and the environment would have been maybe the highest on the list before the war in Ukraine, and maybe now it's just fourth because the political priorities have shifted a little bit. So, so always something also to keep in mind when you have survey results, where just to look at the date of the fieldwork exactly, whether there were some events that could have also influenced the way people answer the question. We also asked them about the main challenge, what they perceived as the main challenges for the EU. And here we could see that the top 2 items were pretty much the same, which is good because that confirmed what we had in the other question, and that shows that those 2 items actually very important for young people. We also offer, and I'm sorry, maybe you can't, I'm not sure you can read, it's a little bit small, but we offer the results across countries. And when we ask young people, in their opinion, which of the following they think are the main strengths of the EU, we can see that we get some diverse results. In most countries, it is the freedom of movement in the EU, but in some other countries, we do get other answers. So this is also something that is good in the Eurobarometer, that we provide this country level data. And there are usually some pretty interesting things in there. What we see, for example, is that when it comes to peace and stability or security, we do see that most of the time countries that are very close to Russia, for example, Baltic countries, tend to be more concerned about this. So this is really something that we see very well in our data. Why some Southern European countries like Spain, they usually tend to focus more on health issues, social issues. So there's some variation that makes a lot of sense when you look at the broader context. A couple of additional findings that I thought were quite interesting. So when we look at main areas the EU should address as a priority, we see that security and defense and environment and climate change and public health are quite high up in the list. We do see that 65% of young people are satisfied with the way democracy works, which is good to hear. We also, it's not here in the slide, but we we do offer a breakdown by different categories of age. So we had a breakdown for 15 to 18 years old, then 18 to 25 and 25 to 30. And we could see that this number of satisfaction was lower for the youngest respondents. So for the respondents who were between 15 and 18, we could see that they were not as satisfied and also not as satisfied with the EU, because we also had some items about satisfaction regarding the EU and whether people think that the EU has a positive impact on society, and which was quite, I think that was around 60%. But again, the youngest people were scored relatively lower on those questions. And when we asked them priority areas for EU support for young people, we see that young people want the EU to prioritize on affordable housing and cost of living, on education and training, skills and development, mental health and well-being, which is interesting also given that those areas are not areas that the EU has a lot of power to legislate on. So we could see here that there was some kind of mismatch between what young people would expect from the EU to do for them and what actually the EU could deliver when it comes to the prerogative they have. Then I wanted to say a few words about a B2B study. So as I said, which was a study on resource efficiency and grid market, which was a trend study that we ran before we ran it 4 years ago. And so this one is a telephone survey. The previous one we had before was a web survey. We only do telephone surveys for companies because we don't have a panel of companies that can answer web surveys. And this survey was really focusing on what kind of actions, resource efficiency actions and environmental actions do companies in Europe and outside Europe take. And we could see that most of companies take actions, at least one form of action, which was already the case 4 years ago, but was a little bit more this time. And we could see that saving energy, minimizing waste was high in the list, but also saving materials, saving water. We could also see that about a third of companies use renewable energy sources, and among this, 12% that generate them on site. This was the first time we used this question, so that was not included in 2021. So it will be interesting to see whether this increases. I mean, we would suspect it to increase if we run this survey again in 2-3 years. So this will be the kind of thing that we would keep an eye on. And here, just to show some evolution since 2021. So we had a question asking companies whether they encounter any of the following difficulties when trying to set up resource efficiency action. And here, well, first of all, you can see that complexity of administrative or legal procedures is the highest, and also the cost environmental actions, which was good for the Commission to see because this aligns with the political priorities that they have now. And we could also see that this was quite stable since 2021. So when we look at the top ranked item, complexity of administrative or legal procedure, we can see that this item has only increased by 1 percentage point since 2021. So that shows, first of all, that this hasn't changed much, and also for us, it's good to see that our results are stable, which means that are also very robust and very reliable. So this is always something that that we'll tend to like to see. Okay, so this was the last slide, but before I just end it, I just wanted to give a short summary about the advantages and sort of limitations of this survey. So Of course, main advantage is that we do this survey in 27 EU countries and sometimes even more, which is an amazing tool because doing a survey in 27 countries takes a lot of resources. These surveys are quite expensive, and it is great that this tool is actually public and that you can use the raw data and the tabulations easily. Of course, it is representative of EU citizens, which is and we have robust and reliable data, so that's also very very good to use for anyone who's interested in this question. And for policymakers and for European institutions, it is a very good tool because it is a very efficient and fast survey. So from the time they send us a request for a survey until the point where they actually get all the deliverables, maybe you can have, let's say, maximum 3 months, which is a very short time span. And it can be even shorter. When we had this survey on the war in Ukraine, we actually had the results 2 weeks later. So they could really directly, a couple of weeks after the war started, have a good idea of what EU citizens were thinking about that. We also have trends, which is always interesting. So that is very good. Of course, there are some limitations, and I would say limitations that are applicable to all surveys. We do see that sometimes policymakers, when they order this kind of surveys, have something in mind. They have something that they want to show. Maybe they have a legislative proposal that is coming up, and they want to steer the survey or the question in one direction. And it is really our job as Ipsos as experts in survey research to say, well, this is a biased question. We can't do that. So we need to turn it into something that is acceptable. So sometimes it's a little bit of negotiation on what we can include, but we usually find an agreement on those. And
Christophe, let me
yeah.
sorry, finish your thought, but I wanted to jump in on that.
Yeah, no, and no, actually something that was quite linked. I just wanted to say that you also always need to really look at the way the questions were formulated, and applies to all surveys. But for example, if you ask citizens whether they support, I don't know, more spending in environmental policy, you're sure that you have a high percentage of people will say yes. But if you say, why do you support this? If that comes with a trade-off that we will be spending less somewhere else, then you will have a very different outcome. So yeah, things to keep in mind.
Christophe, that's really great. Thank you. Christophe, I think you hinted at there the situation that many of us will find ourselves in, not as the experts doing these polls and running these surveys, but often the clients commissioning them, or the people who are needing to make decisions on the basis of these. And so over the next 3-4 weeks, the course that you will have access to is really designed to give you what you need to be in that position. So to interrogate Christophe and say, tell me about how you conducted that sample, and to know when he's making sense or when he's not, or to ask Vlad, should we do a telephone survey, or tell me about AI, and to have the basic level of understanding that helps you understand the methodology, so that you can convince the people that you need to that it's the right methodology, and also so that you can understand the implications of the data that's being presented. So the content that we'll cover over the next few weeks, including in the on-demand videos that you'll watch, and then the live sessions that you'll have at the end of each week, where you can raise questions about what you're reading, or bring your own issues that you're facing. We're going to look at questions like topics like turning curiosity into questions. So you have an idea, you have something you're curious about. How do you put that out into the field? How do you write a great polling question? How and when to ask. It's not always appropriate to put a survey out into the field. And there are different types of surveys to be put out into the field and different types of ways to asking question. So polling, focus groups, AI, timing, format, methods, how do successful campaigns use those methods to gather clean data and to take effective action, and then making sense of the numbers. That's about interpreting and presenting. How do you spot misleading signals? How do you avoid false positives? How do you turn insights into compelling messages? These are some of the things that we're gonna be covering. And I just wanted to say this is a really interesting time to be talking about polling and data, public opinion. And I think it's interesting for two reasons. One, there's an awful lot of public opinion. There's an awful lot of things going on that people have opinions about and that we need to understand what they think about. There's a lot going on in the world. Christophe, you showed some of the topics, but from there is a lot of change. And when there's a lot of change, people have a lot of opinions, and we need to understand what they think. But we're also at a point where the methodology is changing. There are now different methods of conducting polling. AI is about to completely transform how we conduct public opinion surveys. And these two forces mean this is the moment to make sure that we are in a position, look, in 3 or 4 weeks, none of us are going to be experts if we're not starting from that position already, but we have to be in a position that we can ask the intelligent questions, that people can't pull the wool over our eyes, and that we understand what's going on here. We're coming up to time, and we don't have very long for questions, but I've seen some questions have been dropped into the chat already, and if you send any more questions there, we'll keep a note of them and we'll answer them in the next live session or on the community. Vlad, I've seen one for you already. You're nodding. Christophe, I think there's one coming in from you as well. Maybe would just ask you both one question, and let's see how quickly we can do it before we finish. But what's the biggest mistake that people make about polling? Christophe, when you're, coming and introducing your work, or Vlad, if you're meeting a new client, what is the biggest mistake that campaign professionals have about polling?
There are two things there. First of all, when they are designing the data, the questionnaire, for example, and I think the biggest mistake would be to have questions that are meant to suit your narrative, or made in a way that you will find what you want to find, which is then you have just a useless survey, because it's not reliable from a statistical point of view, and then it's just a waste of resources to do that. But a lot of policymakers tend to do this, and when they analyze the data, to just generalize findings in a way that it should not be generalized. For example, when you don't give the context of the question, when you don't, or you can take a question just out of the questionnaire saying that's what people said, but maybe there were some questions before that prepared, the respondents to give that answer, and you just completely giving the question out of context. I think those are the kind of mistake that we usually see.
So two really interesting biases when we're allowing our priors to inform the process of data collection, and when we are then generalizing from the results of that data collection beyond what the data allows us to inform us about. Vlad, biggest mistakes?
Yeah, just one word, which is very related to what Christophe was saying, and for me, honestly, and it is very hard, overconfidence. Because I started by saying that you feel the sense of being, you have the data, right? The data never lies. But then you might be tempted to draw your own conclusions onto that, as Christophe was saying, input your own biases when you build a questionnaire, but also when you read the data. There's this saying, right, that if you torture the data, it will finally confess. So I always have to be careful not to do that, not to insert my own opinions, my own beliefs into that. And I think that's a healthy way. So question everything, including your own question and your own data.
If you torture the data, it will finally confess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, it reminds me, I think, Vlad, there's a section in our course, I remember you on video talking about, look, sometimes the answer isn't data. Knowing when to ask, when to conduct a poll, when to ask for public opinion, and when not to is really, really crucial, isn't it? Look, everybody, we're coming up to time. Can I give you a last opportunity to drop your questions into the chat here? And we'll, as I say, we'll collect them all and we'll answer them in our next session. Rach, next session, same time next week?
Yes, I believe the hour might have shifted. Let me just double check.
Great. I've seen a couple of thumbs up to the hour has shifted. Brilliant. Look, we're really excited to have you jump on the course, watch some of the videos. We'd love to hear from you. Let's drop all of our emails in the chat as you're dropping off. We'll also be on the European Campaign Playbook community. We've got profiles there, and so reach out if there's anything that if you get stuck with anything. But with 1 minute to the hour, thank you very much for spending your lunch break with us. Sebastian, when you watch this recording, we're hoping all's well in the hospital, and we're looking forward to seeing you online next week. And everybody take care. Looking forward to working with you over the next few weeks. Bye-bye,
Thanks a
everybody.
lot. Have a
Bye,
nice day.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.